This week we find out how to make the computer do what we want to. I found out that to be a pop star these days, you need to be able to program a computer. And racing driver Derek Bell discovered that to be king of Monaco, a computer joystick can be just as important as a gear stick. And if you want to enter this week's competition, you'll need to be artistic. But first, the earth-shattering moment you've all been waiting for, Chip-In Challenge. Well, as usual, we kick off with our chip-in version of Xenon Raid, with Kevin Bracey from Chilwell, just up the road, and Julian Storer from Hale in Cheshire. Now, hopefully, using their joysticks and buttons, they'll save Liverpool from destruction at the hands of the alien liverbirds. So it's 45 seconds to you both from now. So here come those liverbirds. Persistent little devils, aren't they? Here's Julian Storer in action. Firing vigorously. Glass is steaming up, I think. And there goes one of his lives. Meanwhile, Kevin Bracey, how's he getting on? Hunting them down with ruthless vigour. His face. Massive concentration, his teeth clenched. We're running out of time. There are the two screens. You can see the scores in the top left-hand corner. I'm going to blow the whistle, and we're out. And the winner, by quite a large margin, is Kevin Bracey. That was fun. But suppose I wanted to write my own programme. Well, with me once again is Jane Bird, the editor of Personal Computer World, who in a moment will be meeting a 48-year-old Liverpudlian fireman who's just written a highly successful computer game. But first, Jane, how can I start learning to program?
Well, the first thing you need to do, Mark, is to write yourself a diagram. A flowchart is the most common one we have with home computers, and we've done one in Chip-In for our own programme telling us how to go out of the house in the morning. OK, so we have commands, and they're in boxes, and we have questions, and they're in diamonds. And the computer can only do one thing at once, so the whole thing is very methodical. The first thing we need to do is look out of the window. Right, are there any clouds? If no, go straight out. If yes, take your umbrella, and then there's another question. Is it raining? If no, go straight out again. If yes, put on your raincoat. And then you go out.
Right, well, I think I understand that, but the next problem, it seems to me, is getting the computer to understand it. I can hardly point to the flowchart at the computer and say, here, get a load of this, can I?
You certainly can't, Mark. If you did that, it wouldn't understand what on earth you meant. What you have to do is translate your flowchart into a computer language, and the most common of these is BASIC. So we've done the translation, and on screen you can see a basic version of the flowchart. You can see print statements, and you can see go out and have fun at the end.
Well, talking of BASIC and programming, here I am now with Liverpool fireman Tom Jones. He began learning BASIC only 2 years ago, and now hopes to make his living writing complicated games programs. So, Tom, going back to the very beginning, how did you become interested in computer games?
I've been interested in video games as a form of escapism since they developed, which is approximately 10 years ago. Then about 2 years ago, as you say, the home computer hit the market, and I decided I'd have a try at writing my own.
Now, your game, Up and Away, which we can see here, tell me in a nutshell what it's all about.
It's all about the intrepid adventures of a hot air balloonist who has, in his wisdom, to operate his hot air balloon, carefully using his fuel and his ballast to overcome all the weird and wonderful obstacles which will try to stop him on his way.
Now, in the games market, I gather that one of the things you really have to have is originality. That's quite an unusual idea. Where did he get it from?
We watched Exchange Flags, and Noni Williams was interviewing a hot air balloonist. And this gave us the pure and clear inspiration to write such a game.
It's quite an unusual business, being a fireman and a computer programmer. What do your mates think down the fire station?
I think at the moment they haven't quite grasped what I'm doing. They're rather nonplussed. They haven't grasped the concept of the computer yet.
And do you think games are going to change your life?
I think so. I expected in approximately 2 years to retire to a sweet and tobacconist shop. Now I rather think that I'll be developing my own software company.
Well, fancy that. Well, Tom, it's rather a tight fit in this basket, but you know, computer games have really taken off, haven't they?
Yes, the sky is the limit.
Ho-hum. Research, they call it. Find another good computer story. It seems like the old routine to me. There must be other ways of making a crust. This looks interesting. How about becoming a pop star? Travel all over the world, be mobbed by fans, make a few bob? I can't lose. recording studio. No harm in trying. Are you Chris Seavey by any chance?
Yeah.
Well, the thing is, Chris, I've decided to make a bid for pop stardom. I've got the suit, I've got the shades, and I thought there might be a vacancy in your band.
Yeah, actually, I have got a vacancy in the band, but it's for a computer programmer. Do you know anything about computers?
Well, not really. I've just spent a fortune on piano lessons.
Oh, no. The keyboard you've got to be working does this sort of thing.
This is Camouflage, a single of yours which comes complete with computer graphics. How did you come to write this particular single?
What happened, actually, I went out to pay my phone bill, and I went past a shop window, and there in the window was a ZX81. And I bought that instead of paying the phone bill, which didn't please my wife. But I got home, and the phone got cut off, which gave me 3 months uninterrupted time to learn to program the thing.
So the program's on the B-side of the single. You load it into the computer, and then you can run the two simultaneously and get graphics along with the music.
That's right. It's like a sort of cheap video that displays with lyrics and bits of patterns and whatnot.
Now, the graphics for Camouflage are in black and white, but I can see you're experimenting with colour as well. What are you going to do with colour graphics?
Well, what we've done, actually, we've changed the game, which was on the B-side of Camouflage, into colour with user-defined graphics. And, like, the train now actually looks like a train instead of blocks moving about on the screen. So there's a lot you can do with colour. And the next single, we're working on generated patterns which you can interact with on the keyboard. So every time you run it, it's different, you know, and you still get the lyrics coming up in time with the music.
I'm not trying to put you out of a job just when you've got one, but all our budding programmers out there, presumably they could write programs to accompany their favourite pop records.
Yeah, I think personally anyone over 15 is over the hill for computers. You know, it's something you've got to grow up with. There'll be kids out there that are 11 that are doing brilliant things, you know, far better than things I'm probably working on, you know. And it'll be generations to come who take it for granted and, you know, grow up with it, who'll come up with the amazing things.
Let's take one effect in particular, like this box effect. How do you achieve that?
Right, it's very easy. All it is random sizes of boxes put in the memory, which it prints all over the screen at random at random positions, you know.
And very effective it is too. It's competition time. You've just seen Chris Seavey with his computer. Now let's see what you at home can do in the way of a 10-second moving graphic sequence. Take a look at this. Well, if you think you can write a graphics program like that one, or if you'd like to enter any of the previous competitions, which were A, an original game, B, educational software or a game for the very young, C, a community use for the home computer, or this week's competition, D, a 10-second moving graphic sequence, send a stamped addressed envelope for rules and entry form to Chip In Competition, Granada Television, Derby House, Liverpool L2 3UZ. I'll repeat that, Chip In Competition, Granada Television, Derby House, Liverpool L2 3UZ. And don't forget, only entries on cassette and floppy disk are acceptable. The competitions will be judged initially by the Merseyside Microsystems Centre, and the final judging will be done by a team of our very own eminent experts. Now, we've already had lots of letters asking for rules and entry forms. Ian Slavin of Liverpool wrote in to say that he had a ZX81 without the extra memory you can get for it, but he's still going to have a bash. That's the spirit we want to see. And without more ado, it's time once again for Chip In Challenge. Now it's the turn of Miles Bracey, who's 9, and Helen Storer, who's 8, to take on the computer and each other again, this time playing the County Fair game. It's a sort of shooting gallery version of Space Invaders, involving pretty bunnies and cute ducks. Aww. But the ducks can be quite crafty and eat your bullets unless you shoot them first. Now, Miles and Helen, you've got 60 seconds from now. Now, here we are looking over Miles' shoulder. As you can see, we're in an electronic shooting gallery. But a gallery with a difference because the animals fight back. Here's Helen. Now, the rabbits, not surprisingly, multiply. And the ducks, if they descend below a certain level, start scoffing your bullets. Now, up at the top of the screen, you can see some trees whizzing by. with narrow gaps. If you shoot between the narrow gaps, they're high scorers. Meanwhile, how's Miles getting on? Despite his tender years, he's showing no remorse for these bunnies, ducks and owls. In fact, there's a look of pleasure on his face, which I find deeply worrying. Meanwhile, Helen. She too is giving those bunnies some stick. We're running out of time. Bag as many as you can in the last few seconds. And that's time up. And I can confidently say that by a margin of only one, Miles Bracey is the winner. From one sort of competition to another, racing driving. I'm joined now by Derek Bell, top racing driver, 3 times winner of Le Mans. But the question is, can he beat a computer at the same kind of game? Derek's going to play a game called Grand Prix. You've got 6 circuits to choose from, complete with chicanes, hairpins, tunnels. You can change gear, you can do speeds of up to 200 miles an hour, but it's also rather easy to have a crash. Well, Derek, I'm afraid we were just wiped out there. Which circuit have you chosen for yourself?
Well, we chose Monaco because it's a popular circuit, and I think the public probably watch that on television when the Grand Prix is on, and I've also raced there.
Away you go.
OK, we're in difficulty level 3, which is pretty difficult. And I can shift gear, and I'm going up now just past the start at Monaco. I'm not going to talk about which gear I'm in anyway, because I can't see.
Well, you're in second at the moment, is that right?
No, I'm going to take third now, try and get a
third.
bit more speed. We're going up the hill to Saint-Devote, which takes you up past Rose's Bar, a very famous bar, which all drivers spend a bit of time in.
No time to stop off for a drink here, though.
No. We're going round the Casino Square now. Oh, now that cone is always in the middle of the track. It's most disturbing.
It seems to be left there by some electronic vandal.
That's right. We're just going down the hill from Casino Square, past the famous Tip Top Bar, where Graham Hill used to have quite a bit of performing there after the race, the Grand Prix. And we're going down through the upper Mirabeau Bend, down towards the station hairpin. This is a very sharp left-hander. We're using sort of second gear. Oh, I'm going to wipe out. Oh, it's awful.
You're still in one piece, keep going.
I'm still in one piece. I just grazed the guardrail there. It was only a brief encounter. And then we've got a right-hander here, if I can see my way through it. Lower Mirabeau. And should we whip it along here? Now we're going to go through the tunnel. I can get up some gears and get a bit of speed up. Whistling through the tunnel now.
I'm doing about 150, 160.
That's about the right speed, actually. I got the chicane coming up, and if I can keep it on the road, I'll avoid going in the harbour.
Getting into quite a skid.
Oh dear, we did go in the harbour, and we're going to pick up speed again, whistling past the high wall on the right-hand side when you see it on television, through the tobacco corner, which used to be a tobacconist part there, past where there is now currently the swimming pool. We come out to the hairpin called the Gasworks hairpin. It seems to take a long time to get there. I'm going to have to slow down for this, it's very tight. It's the last corner before the pit straight. Ooh, oh, I did wipe out. Oh, you wouldn't believe I raced there, would you?
It's a good job, yes, it's a good job. You're more successful when you're actually in a car.
I know, I have much more control when I can use my feet as well, you know.
Oh, well, that's true, yes.
And we're over the finish line, and it says, oh, well, that's it. It didn't even say I was the winner, which is most upsetting.
Well, the question is that a successful simulation of Monaco?
I think so, yes. I mean, it is very similar to Monaco. It's very well done. Just the odd places they put those cones out in the middle of the track did put me off a little bit.
That seems a bit unfair, really, doesn't it?
It does. I think the brilliant person that made the setup, I don't think he realised that you're not meant to put things in the middle of the road. But there weren't any other cars, of course.
Now, do you think this is going to be the racing driving of the future now that oil's getting so expensive?
Well, I mean, it is so expensive to go racing, yes. I mean, this is a super way to do it. You don't get hurt. You don't get dirty either.
Can you see you and Jackie locked in mortal combat at this particular game?
It could easily be, but I think at the moment I'm quite happy to continue with my racing. But it's great fun. I mean, for anybody that's not been around a track, also you can learn the tracks with it. Super.
Perhaps one day, I mean, you could have a computer simulator which could allow you to race without even leaving your house.
You could do, but I think one thing it could be useful is if you could sort of dial in the Nürburgring, which is the 14-mile circuit in Germany. You could learn the track before you even went out there. Nowadays, you have to go out there and spend hours practicing just to get to know the 157 corners. You could learn it on this.
Now, you have 2 children of your own. Do they have any interest in computers?
Well, you let them see one and they'll play with it, but I must admit I try to discourage a little bit at the present time because they do so many other things when they're in their O-levels at the moment. But they love them when they get near them, I must admit. I can't keep them off it.
So now from computer racing, it's back to real racing, isn't it?
Yes, I've got my next World Championship race in a few weeks' time in Belgium, and then we go to Japan, and then back to England for Brands Hatch, and then out to Kailami in South Africa at Christmas.
Well, good luck, and I hope there are no crashes like the one we just saw.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Derek.
Thank you.
And now, Ceiling Zero, starring Barry Storer and Paul Bracey, two of the most mature space cadets in the galaxy. Now, Ceiling Zero is a fiendish space game. It may seem easy at first glance, but it's not. The trouble is, you always seem to be up against ever more fiendish reinforcements. Now, Paul and Barry, you've got 1 minute from now. So here we are in action. Commander Paul Bracey at the helm, looking quietly confident. Now, this is the first stage of the game. These blighters don't seem to cause too much trouble. Paul picking them off with great ease. Meanwhile, Barry, his adversary. Seems to be finding these particular objects quite easy too. Paul likewise. Now he moves on to the next level. As you can see, these chaps seem to move a bit more quickly. They seem to be talking all the time. Perhaps they're kind of intergalactic mothers-in-law. Now we're running out of time once again. Life is short but sweet. I'm going to blow the whistle. And glancing at the screens, my computer-like mind tells me instantly that Paul Bracey is the winner by a margin of 490 to 330. Now, as usual, I'm called upon to make the difficult decision of deciding who won and who lost. And as usual, I can't make that decision, so I've decided it's a tie. Now, I'm going to present the trophies now, which are in these fabulous boxes. Woo! I bet you're excited, aren't you? To Helen, on behalf of the Storer family, well done. And to Miles, on behalf of the Bracey family. Well, that's all for tonight. See you next Wednesday at 6:35, when we'll be making some predictions and looking into the future. I'll be talking, appropriately enough, to Russell Grant, the TV Times astrologer and early morning star of Breakfast Time. I'll also meet Professor Frank George, a professor of cybernetics at Brunel University, who uses a computer to do the pools and bet on the horses. Jane Bird, our resident expert, will be chancing her arm and making some predictions about the home computer. And there'll also be chip-in challenge games playing families. So until then, goodbye.